Hello. So yeah, whilst recording this time lapse, I got thinking about one of the biggest, most feared problems from first time and new tattoo artists, and that's being afraid of adding too much black. It's definitely one of the most asked questions, if not the most asked question, when talking to new artists. And a lot of the time, I struggle to come up with a good answer. With experience, you start to get used to how your pre-mixed shades will heal in the skin. You start to work with the finished product in mind, i.e. how it will look when it's healed. So a lot of the time, the tattoos from artists who've been tattooing for a while will look heavily saturated, only leaving a little bit of skin for highlights. You know, maybe add a little bit of that ultra painful white in there just for good measure. But as an inexperienced artist, you're probably thinking, you know, how the fuck are they doing that? And how do they know how it's going to look so good at the end? Well, when you start out, you see the final product as it is right in front of you. You're not considering that the ink will lighten up in the skin over time, so you end up leaving loads of untattooed room in fear that your tattoo will be a big black mess at the end. You end up adding only the smallest amount of medium tone in the corners with a quick little fade and then calling it a day, only to get to the end of the tattoo and looking back at it thinking, damn, I should have added more black. Saying that, there is some styles that call for light shading, but even those styles will have a heavily saturated areas, or at least a very smooth transition into bare skin. They'll barely ever use black, but they'll go over the area with like a mid-tone and fully saturate it. Now, in my opinion, the best way to get over this whole feeling like you're being too worried to add too much black is to work in layers, let's say. If you're going down the route of dark and bold tattoos, like what I do, then think of the darkest parts of the tattoo and do that first. So all the small corners, the really dark shadows, like if you're in hair, it would be where a curl in the hair might start. Like, do them bits first, making sure you fade it out as best as possible into skin, and then carry on like that until you're down to the lightest shade. Every time, fade into skin so that each shade has its own room to breathe. Once that's all done, you should have a really smooth transition from black to them highlights, which will heal fully saturated but very light. You've got to remember that them really light tones will look darker in the skin at first. And don't worry about taking your time and being slow. You're learning, and fuck everyone else's opinion. Remember, it's either a good tattoo or a rushed one. There is nothing to be proud of in being a fast tattooist. Take your damn time and get it right. Again, this is difficult because only time will really help. It's a good reason to take pictures of every tattoo you do. So if you get a chance to see the healed tattoo, you can compare the fresh and the healed. Then you'll see where you can do some extra work, do some extra learning, and then you might start to understand how your shades will heal. Anyway, I hope that was useful for you. It's just a thought I had. It probably wasn't useful, but it's useful for me when I sit here thinking about this stuff, because sometimes I even oversaturate tattoos. But yeah, thanks again. You know where to support, and I'll speak to you soon. A good day.